Welcome to the Excel Executive. So today we will be talking about two concepts in Excel. Now on their own, sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. But when you use them in combination, they're very useful in certain scenarios. So the scenario that I will discuss with you today is basically when you send a sheet to a couple of people, they might be your colleagues or whomever, and you want to collect the data. What happens is that when you send a sheet which is open and anyone can make any changes anywhere in the sheet, then when you get back those sheets, it gets very difficult to aggregate them. So what we will try to do today is that we will try to make these sheets dummy proof, or I don't know, idiot proof. Yeah, some people are basically not just good at stuff, which is fine. So what we would like to do is that we would like to create a sheet, send it to 5, 10, 15 people, tell them to enter the data, and the sheet should be simple enough that they enter the data in the desired format. So we will try to achieve that in this video today. So for that, we have two concepts, two features in Excel that we will use. The first is called the data validation, and second is a protect. So first I will explain them, and then we will try out a scenario in which we can create a sheet which has a data validation and a protection in it. And once it is done, then that sheet will be ready to send so that you can send it to other people, and they will enter the data in such a way which will be helpful. And once you get back those sheets, you will be able to aggregate those sheets because they will maintain their format and the values. So let's begin. So first is a data validation. So the option is available in the data tab. This is the icon, and if you hover over it, it says data validation, and it gives you a description of roughly what this thing is going to do. So basically what we will do is that we will create restrictions in columns so that the other person does not enter any other thing. And there can be multiple scenarios, so let's take it one by one, or let's basically discuss it, and then we can do it in one go. So here, instead of giving the person the ability to type whatever that person wants to, I just want a drop-down list so that person can only select the options that I have provided. This will be applicable for this one, for this one. This column can be open-ended. The person can type in whatever they want. In this column, I would prefer if the person only enters a date. In this column, I want the person to enter a price, so no text. Similarly here, I want the person to enter a number, not a text value. So to achieve all this, we will use data validation. So let's start with the first column, the category one. So to apply data validation, first you have to ensure that this is a table and not a, yeah, it's supposed to be a table. So first, what we will do is that we will select the column for which we want to apply data validation. So I will select this column. Now what I would want to do in this case is that I just want that person to be able to select only these three options: drinks, vegetables, and snacks from a drop down. So after I select this, I will click the option, and this is the interface. So it has three parts. We will use the first part most often, and I will also explain the other two parts. So here, the first option is basically that it's open-ended. You can type in anything. Then we have the whole number, a decimal, list, a date, time. I haven't used it ever. Text length, I haven't used that. Yeah, like ever. And in custom, you can punch in a formula. So the only scenario that I've seen is where people use this option to create a double validation, which I will not cover in this. Maybe in the future I will. I don't know. But that is for advanced users. You don't have to worry about that much. So for this option, we are supposed to select list. Now, once you select it, it will give you these two options, which I never use, so I keep them checked. And this is where you type in the source. Now, there are two methods. I will show you the first method here, which I don't use ever, and then we'll use the second method. The first method is simple. You just type in the options separated with a comma. So we have three options, so I'm just going to type them in. So I have drinks, then a comma, vegetables, hopefully I spelled it correctly, and snacks. Okay, and we will talk about the other two options later. And I just click OK. So now, firstly, you see that on every cell there is this down arrow, and if you click it, you will see that it has these three options. So if I want to change drinks to another option, I can select snacks or vegetables or go back to drinks, and it will be all fine. Now you'll say, what's the difference? The difference is that I cannot enter any other value except these three values. So if I try to type in, I don't know, nuts, and press enter, it will give me an error, which is not very descriptive. Yeah, I don't know what this means. But basically it means is that you cannot enter any other value. Now let's go back in data validation again. So the next two parts is that basically it is giving you the option to modify the message. So this is an input message. So let's say call it drop down list, and I can just ask the person, please select from the drop down. Click OK. And now every time when I will click any cell in this column, it will show me this message. This is the first option, which I don't use ever. I don't think it's very helpful, but you can use it if you like. So I'm just gonna delete this. Okay, we're done, and click OK, and it's gone. Now this third option, the error alert, this is a good option. Now first, it has three options. So it's stop, warning, and information. I don't use these two. I only use stop because the other two options asks the person that you are not selecting the value from the validation list, but this option will allow the person to enter his or her own value, which I don't want ever. So in 99% of the cases, you will use this option, the stop. And here I can customize the message. So I don't know, just type in select from drop down, and here I can show, I don't know, yo, you can only select from the drop down. Yeah, you. And I click OK. So it will not show anything, and if the person is just selecting from the list, it will be all good. But if the person tries to type in again like nuts, then it will give you that custom message. Yeah, you can see it here. And then I can do a retry, and then select, maybe cancel, and then select from the drop down. So we are done with this bit. But like I said, that I don't use this method for the list. So what I will do is that, so this is fine. These two are fine. You can type in a custom message if you like. If you don't want to type it in, it's up to you. It doesn't matter. What matters is this first tab. So here I typed it in. So the best practice is that you type these values in a cell or multiple cells, and then you refer those cells. So what I will do is that I'm just going to clear the whole validation from this column, and we will start from the beginning. So instead of typing it in those options, I will just type these options here. So I will try drinks. Yeah, I can just use the formula, unique, just to be on the safe side so that I have all the values. And then I'm just gonna copy these and paste the value so that it removes the formula. So now it's like I have typed them. It's like, yeah, it has like the same effect. Anyways, and then what you should do is that you should convert it into a table. So let's say I call it category list, and then change this into a table. So go to the home tab, format as table. Let's select this one. It has headers, and I click OK. This is a table now. And one more thing that I'm not doing here is that normally what I would do is that I will keep the data sheet like this one separate, and then create another sheet here and put all my validation lists in there just to keep it clean. But for this exercise, I think we should be able to see both of these in the same sheet. That is why I'm keeping it here. So we will go back to this option, go to data, select the data validation, and select list. And instead of typing these three options, I will click this button, select my options, click this button again, and click OK. And we're in business. So we have the same options. And if I type in anything else, it will give me the error. Now, just because I cleared it, so again, it's back to its standard message, and I've shown you before that how you can customize it. So we are done with the first column. Now, what happens is that sometimes you have these options present and you want to add another option on top of it. So to do that, what you can simply do is that, let's say I want to add nuts in it. So again, because I just can't type it in here, so what I will do is that I will add that option right below this one. Once I do that, I go back, and now nuts is also available from the option because I have added that in this list. Anyways, let's continue. So I'm done with the first column. I can do the same with the second column. So we have a grocery shop and a vegetable shop. So copy, maybe paste values. So if you just want the values, you can just use this option. And shop list, let's say. And the same thing. Format as a table. And it has headers. And now I'm supposed to select this column. Go to data, validation, list, and select these two values. And click OK. And we're done. So here we only have these two options. Again, if I type in anything else, it's not going to work. Now, this column, I just want to keep it open. So the person, yeah, I mean, of course, I'm trying to make it dummy proof, but yeah, you have to, sometimes there are some columns that you can't just put restrictions on it. So this is, let's say, one of those columns, so I'm going to keep it here. The next column is the date one. So here, what I will do is that I will select the column, go here, and instead of any value, I'm not going to select list, I'm going to select date. And normally in dates, these are a lot of options. What I will simply do is that I will just put some ridiculous date, like, I don't know, 1/1/1990, and then here I will type in some cyberpunk date, 1/1/2300, I don't know. And once that is done, then I will do one more thing. So here the format is already correct, but if it isn't, I will go in here and I will change the format and customize it. Yeah, so you can have months in the beginning or days. So I have days, then month, then the year, and then I'm going to click OK. So what happens is that if I type in, let's say, 12 August 24 and press enter, and it's going to pick it up. And you have to understand that this is only the way this thing works. So let's say if I type in, I don't know, 45,000, it will convert it in the correct date. But if I type in something crazy, like a text value, it's going to tell me that it doesn't match the data validation restrictions, which again, I don't know. The meaning is just really vague, or you can just customize it. So let's customize this one. So I go to data validation. You see date is already selected. I go to the error message and I type in date only. Kindly enter dates in this column, otherwise you will receive a message, and please don't call me for this. So if I type in a text value, I press enter, so you will see that it will give you the customized message, and you press cancel, and then you type in a date, price. So again, I will select the column, validation. Yeah, let's clear. I don't know what happened here. Anyways, so I go here, go to the settings, and here what I want is that I just want a number. So you have two options. So whole number and decimal. Decimal seems appropriate. So minimum is, I don't know, 0, and maximum is, well, some crazy number, and click OK, and it's going to work. So again, if I type in 77.3, it's going to work perfectly. If I type in hello, it's not going to work. In quantity, yeah, this column, yeah, this can be a whole number. So let's change this to a whole number. Click here again, minimum is 0, maximum is, I don't know, whatever, and click OK. And again, if I type in 2.8, it's not going to work. But if I type in 4, it's going to work just fine. So this is the whole bit. Now we have the last column, the total column. Now I don't think we need a validation on this column, so I will leave it as it is. Okay, so now this is the first step. So we are done with a data validation. Now we will go to the second part, protection. Because what can happen is that the person can type in stuff here, it can type in something here, do their stuff all around the sheet. You don't want them to do that. You want the sheet to be clean, and you also don't want that person to add multiple sheets or do any changes with this workbook or Excel file. So you want it nice and clean when you send it, and you want it nice and clean when you receive it from everyone. So for that, we will use this option. Now this option is available in the review tab. We have to use these two options. First, we will use a protect sheet, and then we will use a protect workbook. But before we do that, we have to prepare the sheet. So currently this table has only 8 rows. So let's say we want 50 rows in this table, which should be more than enough for everyone to whom we are sending this sheet. And all the values should be less are as per our, I don't know, we assume that 50 rows should be more than enough for everyone. So first, what we will do is that we will create 50 rows in this table. So I will just start adding rows. And what I'm here doing is that I'm using Control Shift and using the plus sign to create these rows, if you're interested. Okay, but these are many more than 50 rows. So let's delete some of these. So we start from 3, so 53 should be okay. So I'm just gonna delete these. Let's delete this as well. Oh, let's try it again. Yeah, we're done. So now I have approximately 50 sheets, 50 rows. So first thing, protect sheet. So what we would like is that the person to whom we are sending this sheet should be able to enter the data in this table and in this table only. Now, what happens in Excel is that Excel assumes that every cell, so the cell is these boxes. So every cell in this sheet is locked by default. So what we do is that when you protect sheet, then every cell in this sheet will become protected. But what we want is that we want these cells to be not protected and everything else should be protected. So to do that, instead of doing a single step, we have two steps. So the first step is that you select all the cells for which you want the person permission to enter the data. Once you have selected those cells, you right click, you go to format cells. And I know it's a bit confusing and all that, but this is how we are supposed to do it. So just work with me here. So we go to format cells and we have this option in the end called protection. And as I told you before, it's locked. So what we do is that we unlock these cells, click OK. Now only these cells are unlocked at this point. Everything else is locked. But we can still make entries because we haven't protected the sheet yet. Once you have done this, then you click this button. And don't worry about all these options. You don't want to work with those. And the only thing that you want is that you have to enter a password. So if you want to unprotect it in the future, you can type in that password. Now, one thing is that this password is optional. If I click OK right now and I go to unprotect the sheet, I can just click it and it's not going to ask me an option. But let's enter a password just to demonstrate a point. So the password is 123, let's say. And I click OK. And it's asking me to confirm the password 123. And I say OK. And we're done. So protect sheet is now changed to unprotect sheet. And this sheet is now protected. And by sheet, I mean this sheet. So this is a separate sheet, this is a separate sheet, and this sheet is protected. So what that means is that I can select the data in this cell, and I'll be fine. But if I try to type something, let me do that. So I'm good here. And of course, I can unprotect it. If I click it, it's going to ask me for the password, and I'm going to type in 123, and it's going to unprotect it. This is the first step. The second step is you just protect the workbook. The workbook basically means this Excel file. So I click it. Again, the password, which is optional. Yeah, but just for a demonstration purposes, I'm just going to type it in. So 123, I click enter, and I have to re-enter 123. Click OK. And now the sheet is protected. So I can look at the sheet, but if I try to create a new sheet, I can't. If I try to delete this sheet, I can't. I can't rename it, I can't hide it, I can't unhide it. So now we're good. So, and the validation in these cells is also working. So here, I cannot type anything. I have to select from these two shops. I can hear an item, so I can say, yes, it's going to work, despite the fact that it's not a proper item. Here, I can only enter a date. So let's say 24 August 24. It works. I am supposed to enter the price. I say hi. It's not going to work. But if I enter 2.8, it works. And here in the quantity, I can type in 4, and it's going to give me the total value. Now, one thing that I didn't do is that this column should also be locked. So the person should not be allowed to enter values in it as well. So let me show you what I mean. So what is happening is that the value coming here in this cell is basically these two cells multiplied. So 2.5 into 3 is 7.5. But let's say I change it to 11. It's going to let me change it, which shouldn't happen because we are trying to keep it as much dummy proof as possible. So what I will do is that I will unprotect the sheet and I will type in the password. And now I can type the stuff in here and I will go here I will select this column, go to format cells, go to protection, and I'm going to lock it. And I'm going to protect the sheet again. And what I normally do is that I don't even enter a password, because most people have no idea what is happening to the sheet. They don't even know the option that what they can do is that they can go to the review tab and click unprotect sheet, and it's gonna get unprotected. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. So now what is happening is that I type it in here. So if I say 3 into 2, so it's 6, and I can make all the entries in all of these cells till here, and everything else is protected. So now, yeah, let me show you here as well. So here he's asking for a password. So I'm just gonna do it without a password. Click OK. Sheet is protected. So I cannot add another sheet. I cannot delete this sheet or make a copy of it, so on and so forth. This sheet is fixed, and I'm just asking that person to enter the data. And now this sheet is ready to be shipped to your colleagues who are not that good at Excel, and you will send this sheet in this shape, and hopefully you will get this in the same shape, and it will be ready for analysis. So that is pretty much it. So this was a data validation and sheet protection and workbook protection. So do all the good stuff. Like, subscribe, share, and comment, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.